computer is picking up a strange signal. Here, sir, you better take a look at it.
Hello dear listener, and welcome to episode 89 with your host Rob Tierney of Life Through a Prism. We are going to look at an article from abc.net.au entitled Reframing Disability by authors Evan Young and Naz Campanella. Article dated Friday the 8th of August 2025. What do you think of when you hear the word disability? Someone in a wheelchair? Someone who is blind and has a cane? Whatever they look like, their impairment means life can be harder for them. The fact that they don't have use of their legs or eyesight is the reason they might struggle to get up and down stairs or read writing on a piece of paper. But what if we told you that was only one way of thinking about disability? And there's another reason those people struggle in certain situations, one that has much less to do with the fact that they can't walk or see. Reframing disability. The way many people view disability forces those living with it to work within the limitations of a world not designed for them. Could a shift in mindset help move the dial on inclusion? In 2014, Nick Parsons was fresh out of law school and excited about starting his career. But the Sydney man didn't realise a system based around justice would end up being so difficult to navigate. Mr. Parsons is blind. He uses a cane to help get around physical spaces and screen reading technology to access digital ones. While working as a paralegal in a government office years ago, he wasn't able to use the department's file management system because it wasn't accessible to his screen reader. Mr. Parsons says filing documents late meant a business could go insolvent. Mr. Parsons ultimately decided to leave the otherwise great job and work at a small private firm with more flexibility to change its technology. He spent his weekends learning how to code, creating a new accessible file management system for the whole organisation. At a larger firm, I don't think that ever would have happened, he says. Today, Mr. Parsons is a partner at a boutique CBD law firm, and junior staffers file documents for him. Thanks to a few changes and considerations, such as having time to get orientated with courtrooms, he's able to succeed in his profession much more easily. While he says he was happy as an enthusiastic junior staffer to come up with a solution to the tech issues he faced, other people with disability shouldn't be expected to drive such changes in their workplace. I don't want to spend my time doing that because my time is more valuably spent actually doing the legal work, he said. A different model. Many people would see Mr. Parsons struggle as a result of his blindness. That view is known as a medical model of disability, where someone's barrier to accessibility stems from a medical difference or impairment that needs to be quote-unquote fixed. But that's not how Mr. Parsons feels. He says those struggles were because of the design of the environment. That position is known as the social model of disability, which posits the people with disability are disabled not by the impairments, but by the world around them. That includes cultural factors such as attitudes, discrimination, and physical barriers, like a lack of ramps or accessible software. The social model of disability has been around since the 1980s, and it really shifted people's thinking around the responsibility of society and the ways in which society can be changed to enable people with disability to participate on an equal basis as others. Anne Kavanagh, a professor at the University of Melbourne School of Population and Global Health, says. Professor Kavanagh says society has long, quote-unquote, over-medicalised disability. We have concentrated on the things that we can do to fix people's disability, and that sees someone with disability as inherently lesser than someone who doesn't have a disability, she says. It also sees disability as a tragedy, as something an individual experiences as something that makes them a source of pity, rather than thinking about the way in which society can actually empower people with disabilities. There are criticisms of the social model though, its simplicity being one of them. While Professor Kavanagh says the social model has a lot of merit, it's just a framework and doesn't consider every barrier all people with disability come across. For example, no number of changes to the environment around people living with chronic pain or fatigue will remove all the symptoms they experience. People with disability still experience impairments in their body, and no matter what you do, in some instances that is going to impact on what you can do in life, Professor Kavanagh says. Felt like they didn't want me. Jeremy Muir knows how much easier society is to navigate when it's been designed to include everyone. A wheelchair user for more than 40 years, he's the current CEO of Physical Disability Australia, which works with governments and organisations to improve accessibility for people with physical disabilities. A few years ago, Mr. Muir was working as a disability advisor, helping people with disabilities access his organisation's resources, common spaces and reasonable adjustments. Ironically, his team was moved to an inaccessible older building where doors, bathrooms, the kitchen and reception didn't meet the 2010 building standards that aim to ensure that all new buildings meet a minimum level of accessibility. To go to the toilet, Mr. Muir had to wheel into a different building. In response to complaints, his workplace remodelled the building and upgraded accessibility, though Mr. Muir and his team still had to spend 12 months navigating the space until the upgrade was completed. Mr. Muir says accessing many other locations in his community is also difficult. He often uses his wheelchair on the roads in the area where he lives in northern Brisbane because the footpaths and curb cuts are unsafe and often muddy. Things like getting a haircut also require much more planning than what it would for non-disabled people. My local barber is not accessible, so I have to drive to a few suburbs away to a major shopping centre. I have to have someone with me to do that. It's not just inconvenient for me, it's inconveniencing my partner, he says. Mr. Muir is clear-eyed about what he sees to be the disabling factor in all of this. Spoiler alert, it's not the wheelchair. Mr. Muir has seen lots of changes to accessibility in his decades as an advocate, but wants to see more. 40 years ago or 20 years ago, I wouldn't be able to access my local train station or get up to my local suburb on my own in my wheelchair. And of course, that's accessible parking and accessible toilets in most places where you go. Unfortunately, it still takes a willingness and it still takes the right attitude, government, funding and policy to ensure that access keeps improving. There is still a long way to go and it can still be better. Not a tragedy. As time goes on, more and more people with disability are embracing the social model. Those who are tired of having to change themselves to accommodate society instead of society changing to accommodate them. Other models of disability have emerged alongside the social and medical model, including the human rights model, which emphasises the equal rights of people with disability and acknowledges there are overlapping forms of discrimination that contribute to a person's experiences. While imperfect, each provides a different lens to view something that many people in society either don't talk about much or understand. Ultimately, Professor Kavanagh says she'd like to see disability to be seen as simply part of the human condition. Not a tragedy, not necessarily a superpower, just part of being human in the world, she says. Mr. Muir says it makes an enormous difference when society is designed to include people with disability from the get-go. It gives you a sense of belonging, it helps you believe that you are not the problem and that you have every right to exist and participate in your community as much as any person without a disability. On a personal level, I would just like to do a little thought exercise. Say you invited to go out for a meal at your favourite restaurant. How long would it take you to decide to go? A few seconds, maybe a minute? For myself as a wheelchair user, it would take me a few days to be able to work out if I could go. Here's the process I do if wanting to go somewhere. First, I must work out if I can get a taxi. And for me, I need to book a few days in advance. I'm not in a position to be able to get an Uber. Then, what is the layout of the restaurant? Is there easy access to the building? Is it flat to get into? Then can I navigate around? And then, which seems to be one of the main points of interest, is there a disability toilet? I have had some places where there was mentioning of a disability toilet and then either staff had no idea where it was or finding it that has been a sticker slapped on a door for compliance, or the toilet is miles away from the other toilets. By the time I've done all that at times, it's like it's not worth all the effort. You become mentally exhausted and anxiety can be added into the mix. No one should have to go to these lengths to just be able to have a meal with friends, but that is the reality for a lot of disabled people. Had you heard of these two models before today? What are your thoughts on this topic? Would love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Let's have a conversation. Till next time, take care and bye for now.